But this is a two-parter kind of story here. And everybody listening who just saw this guy get forgiven and rush off into the darkness with his wife and so excited about living life, we want to know, well, what happened to him later? What happened in chapter 2? What was he like to everybody else around him? And then we start at the rest of this parable and we see what happened. We read on, and it says this, that servant went out and found a fellow servant who owed him money. How much money? Well, this is ironic. He only owed him 100 silver coins. That's like $20 to us. That's like no big deal. We're talking a gajillion dollars, what the guy originally owed his owner and his CEO, and this guy just owns a tiny little bit of pocket change. And we're talking about an unpayable debt that he can never pay, the first guy, and this guy, it's a tiny little finite debt that'd be no big deal to pay back. And we're talking about something that is doable versus undoable. And so the guy that he comes up to is a guy who can't pay. And look what he does. He comes up to the guy and he basically demands his money, but look at the way he did it here, okay? And so he comes up to the guy who owes him money and he says, basically, pay me. And the guy says this. He says, the same thing that the guy said to the CEO, the fellow servant says to the now forgiven servant. Look at what he said. He says, he fell at his feet, and he says, I can't pay you. I cannot pay you, but here's the deal. Have mercy on me. Give me a little bit of grace. Give me a little bit of space. Give me a little bit of time, and I will repay it all. And so he basically says this. He says, just wait till the end of the month. I mean, I'm good for it. I'm not going to try to beat you out of any money. I'm not going to try to embezzle from you. I'm not going to steal from you. But this guy was a poor guy. He lived at the kind of means that the original servant should have lived at if he hadn't been embezzling. And so this guy says, just give me a little bit of grace. And you know what? Look at what the guy says. He says, he comes up to this guy and he grabs him by the throat and he starts choking him. And he says, pay me back what you owe me. Look at that. That's amazing. Pay me back. So much more aggressive, so much more beyond what the CEO did to him. So much bigger the response than what his boss had done to him. And then it goes on to the response that he gives the guy who couldn't repay. Look at what he says this. He refused to help the guy. He refused it. And he went off and threw the guy in prison until he could repay the debt. Same wording. Be patient with me and I will repay it back. Same wording from when his CEO handled him. Same thing was given to him and he wouldn't take the offer. And he thinks, you know what? I'm not going to be as stupid as that old man. I'm not going to let him get away with it. I'm not going to let him get away with all the debt that he owes me. He owes me all this pocket change, and he's going to pay it back. My boss, are you kidding me? He was duped. He was dumb. I got away with it. It was a last-ditch effort, and I went for it, and he fell for it. And I can't believe that he would let me get away, but I'm not letting this other guy get away. Are you kidding me? That's the mentality of what was going through his mind.